This is the morning of the 17th. Clip put up by NARCOG Report Files. Title, Kash Patel caught hiding Trump files. The truth exploded. In just 67 seconds, 300 gigabytes of hidden evidence exposed. So let's have a listen to this clip. It plays for 13 minutes and 36 seconds.
300 gigabytes of hidden evidence exposed everything. Patel didn't expect the July memorandum. He expected routine questions. Cameras caught his cover-up crumbling. Congress watched truth annihilate lies. What did Pramila Jayapal reveal about Trump's Epstein files that made America's top law enforcement official admit to the biggest government cover-up in FBI history? Tuesday afternoon, 3:17 p.m., House Judiciary Committee Room 2141, Rayburn Building. The late afternoon shadows stretched across marble floors as America's most relentless government accountability warrior prepared to detonate the most explosive cover-up scandal in congressional history. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal walked in like a prosecutor who had spent months building an airtight case against systematic government corruption. Her eyes burned with the focused intensity of someone who had obtained evidence so damning it would reshape America's understanding of how political loyalty corrupts federal law. Enforcement. Behind wire-rimmed glasses, the Washington Democrat carried herself with the quiet authority of someone who had spent decades exposing government cover-ups and knew exactly how to dismantle institutional lies through methodical questioning and devastating documentation. At the witness table sat FBI Director Kash Patel, projecting confidence built on months of successful deflection and bureaucratic authority. His FBI badge caught the committee lights as he arranged classified folders, expecting routine questions about bureau operations and counter-terrorism statistics. Behind him, 6 FBI legal specialists and 4 DOJ liaison officers carried briefcases full of prepared responses and classification justifications that would prove utterly inadequate against documented evidence of systematic evidence suppression. The chamber buzzed with typical congressional energy. Republican members prepared softball questions about border security and drug enforcement. Democratic staffers whispered about bombshells they were about to witness. None suspected that months of investigative homework was about to expose the biggest cover-up in FBI history. At exactly 3:17 p.m., Chairman Jerry Nadler called the session to order. The gentlewoman from Washington is recognized for 20 minutes. Jayapal opened with surgical precision, immediately focusing on the core of her investigation. Director Patel, you and Attorney General Pam Bondi released a video claiming there was nothing more to see in the Epstein case. But your July memorandum states that you discovered over 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, yet decided that further disclosure was not appropriate or necessary. The chamber's energy shifted immediately. This wasn't routine oversight. This was about evidence suppression at the highest levels of government. Patel's jaw tightened imperceptibly. His hands drummed once against the witness table before going still. Congresswoman, our review process follows established protocols for sensitive material that Director, Jayapal interrupted with prosecutorial precision. You found a treasure trove of evidence 300 gigabytes worth, but decided the American people didn't need to see it. Why? The question hung in the air like poison gas. Patel realized this wasn't about FBI procedures. This was about a massive evidence suppression operation that had operated in the shadows for months. Congresswoman, the determination about public disclosure involves complex considerations regarding ongoing investigations, victim privacy, and national security implications that, at 3:19 p.m., exactly 2 minutes into Jayapal's questioning, she delivered the blow that would begin systematic destruction of the biggest cover-up in modern FBI history. I think what happened, Mr. Patel, is that you suddenly discovered Donald Trump's name was all over those files, and you launched a massive cover-up. The accusation hit the chamber like a nuclear explosion. Camera flashes erupted like lightning strikes. Reporters began frantically typing as they processed the implications of what they were hearing. A sitting congresswoman had just accused the FBI director of orchestrating a cover-up to protect Donald Trump from Epstein investigation exposure. Patel's face went pale. His legal team frantically shuffled through briefing materials, searching for responses they hadn't prepared for direct accusations of criminal conspiracy to obstruct justice. That's absolutely false, Congresswoman. Any suggestion that political considerations influenced our investigative decisions is categorically, then explain this. Jayapal interrupted, producing a document that made several committee members lean forward in their seats. The Wall Street Journal reported in May that Attorney General Bondi told Trump he was in the Epstein files, and in that same meeting, DOJ decided not to release the files to the public.
What?
Yeah, ad just popped up. I'll get rid of it.
The systematic coordination evidence was devastating. Direct communication between the Attorney General and former President about Epstein files followed immediately by the decision to suppress evidence from public disclosure. Patel's hands were now visibly trembling as he reached for his water glass. I cannot comment on communications between other officials or characterize discussions that may have occurred outside my direct knowledge. But you can explain why 14 and 6-year-old girls who were as HIV, groomed and raped, who came forward to testify, were ignored by your investigation. Jayapal pressed with mounting moral authority. The human dimension hit like a sledgehammer. This wasn't about abstract evidence suppression. This was about silencing victims of child sexual abuse to protect powerful political figures. At 3:21 p.m., Jayapal prepared to deliver the evidence that would trigger the 67-second explosion that destroyed Patel's career and exposed the systematic nature of the Trump protection operation. Director Patel, if you're so committed to providing information to the public, why didn't you meet with these survivors? Did you meet with these women who were sexually abused and raped? Yes or no? The chamber fell completely silent. Everyone understood this was the kill shot, the question that would either force Patel to admit he had refused to meet with sexual abuse victims or lie under oath before Congress. Patel sat in stunned silence for nearly 10 seconds, his face cycling through visible emotional states as he realized he had no acceptable answer. His breathing became visibly labored as the moral weight of his position crashed down. At exactly 3:22 p.m., 67 seconds before truth would explode with devastating force, Jayapal revealed the evidence that would complete his destruction. Because what I see, Director, is selective application of justice. Your FBI eagerly pursues sex trafficking cases involving powerless perpetrators, but when wealthy, connected, politically important individuals are implicated, investigations suddenly stop. The systematic analysis of justice, corruption, was devastating. Jayapal wasn't just exposing individual failures, she was revealing how the entire federal law enforcement apparatus had been corrupted by political loyalty. Patel attempted one final desperate deflection. I reject any implication that political considerations influence FBI investigations. Our commitment to protecting children from exploitation is unwavering, regardless of, at exactly 3:23 p.m. 67 seconds after Jayapal's setup, truth exploded with nuclear force that shattered the biggest government cover-up in modern history. Then why? Jayapal demanded, her voice rising to fill the chamber with righteous fury. Are you sitting here refusing to acknowledge that sexual abuse victims deserve to be heard, while 300 gigabytes of evidence that could deliver them justice sits buried in FBI vaults because Donald Trump's name is all over it? The explosion was immediate and devastating. The chamber erupted in chaos as the full scope of the cover-up became clear. CNN broke into regular programming with breaking. FBI director accused of Trump protection cover-up in Epstein case. Twitter exploded within seconds. Number Trump Epstein cover-up began trending alongside number 300 GB evidence and number Patel exposed. The story was going viral as millions watched the FBI director's systematic cover-up operation being exposed in real time. Patel's response revealed the complete moral bankruptcy of his position. "I cannot speak for other officials or characterize decisions made outside my direct authority." The deflection was pathetic and revealing. Faced with evidence of systematic victim betrayal and evidence suppression, Patel's instinct was bureaucratic finger-pointing rather than moral accountability. "You can't speak for yourself," Jayapal shot back with devastating precision. "You can't explain why you refuse to meet with women who were sexually trafficked as children. You can't justify burying 300 gigabytes of evidence because it implicates powerful political figures." The chamber buzzed with frantic activity. Legal experts appearing on cable news universally agreed that Jayapal's evidence constituted grounds for criminal investigation into obstruction of justice and conspiracy charges. Former federal prosecutor Joyce Vance explained on MSNBC, "What Congresswoman Jayapal exposed isn't just evidence suppression, it's systematic corruption of federal law enforcement to protect political allies from criminal accountability." The human cost became clear as sexual abuse survivors began speaking publicly about their attempts to provide evidence to FBI officials who had systematically ignored their testimony when it implicated politically connected individuals. Foreign intelligence services immediately recognized the vulnerability. If the FBI director was suppressing evidence to protect political figures, America's entire law enforcement apparatus was compromised by partisan loyalty rather than commitment to justice. Within hours, 4 separate congressional committees announced formal investigations into the 300 gigabytes evidence suppression scandal. The House Oversight Committee, Senate Intelligence Committee, and 2 separate Judiciary Committees all demanded immediate access to the complete Epstein evidence archive. That evening, as America processed the most explosive government cover-up scandal in history, sexual abuse survivors finally understood why their cases had been deprioritized. The FBI's mission had been corrupted by political loyalty to protect powerful figures rather than deliver justice to victims. Jayapal returned to her office and continued the methodical oversight work that had exposed systematic corruption. Her patient investigation and relentless questioning had revealed how political loyalty corrupts fundamental law enforcement functions. As news broke that both Patel and Attorney General Bondi were under criminal investigation for conspiracy to obstruct justice, everyone understood that 67 seconds of explosive truth had finally shattered the wall of government secrecy that had protected powerful predators for years. 6 months later, as federal prosecutors announced indictments against multiple government officials for evidence suppression and obstruction of justice, Pramila Jayapal's investigation was remembered as the moment when congressional oversight finally delivered accountability for systematic government corruption. Sometimes the strongest weapon against institutional cover-ups isn't partisan politics or media attention. It's methodical investigation, documented evidence, and moral clarity about protecting victims over protecting powerful figures. What happens when systematic evidence suppression meets systematic congressional investigation? Can government cover-up survive when exposed by someone who refuses to let victims be silenced? Kash Patel learned these lessons when 67 seconds of explosive truth destroyed the biggest cover-up operation in FBI history. If this accountability restored your faith in congressional oversight, don't just watch, like, share, and subscribe to our
Yeah, well, why do you think Trump put this cross-eyed Hindu Indian in as FBI director? Why do you think he put in Pam Bondi as Attorney General? Because they're going to carry his water. Problem is, now they're all sinking. I'll attach the link. Look at it. Pass it along. And thanks for listening.